Welcome to Diet Rebellion, the podcast that's here to help you break free from the chains of dieting and finally take control of your health, strength, and confidence. I'm Joe Hoye, your host and the founder of Diet Detox. After transforming the lives of thousands of women over 40 who have been trapped in the endless diet cycle, I'm here to show you a new way. One that focuses on eating for your body's needs, restoring your metabolism, and rebuilding your strength for life. Get ready for real, no bullshit conversations, expert insights, and actionable strategies that empower you to live diet-free and thrive. It's time to stop restricting and start rebuilding. Join the rebellion. Your journey starts now. Lynn is a 53-year-old certified menopause fitness coach who is passionate about helping women navigate the profound changes that come with menopause. Having experienced firsthand the frustration when her go-to exercise and diet routines stopped working, sound familiar? She turned things around. And now she helps other women to do the same thing in their life, to regain muscle, lose fat, and learn to work with their new bodies. As the host of the popular 40+ Fitness for Women podcast and creator of the Learn to Lift programs and monthly membership, she's on a mission to help women embrace strength training, also sound familiar, to increase health span and quality of life in the decades ahead. Join me in this episode because it's going to be a good one, and let's dive in. Lynn, welcome to Menopause from a Man. As I said, kind of in the green room, I was watching your Instagram before, and God, I mean, you align so much with the things that we do, but the biggest thing that I saw you talking about is strength training and how ladies need to be pushing themselves. Those 2 and 5 pound dumbbells, they're not going to cut it for life.
Yeah, it's just not enough. Our bodies really change as we go through perimenopause and menopause, and we just need to be lifting heavier. And the lifting heavy actually helps to counteract a lot of the things that happen when estrogen walks out the door for us. Yeah, you want me to get dug right into that, or?
Well, you know, a good place to start actually is I would love to know about your experience. Number one, have you been someone that always into fitness and nutrition and healthy living, or did this happen around perimenopause and menopause? Let's hear that.
Yeah. So actually I am lifelong fitness person. Well, I was an athlete, really. Started my life, dancing ballet, then in high school moved into team sports. So I was playing field hockey, lacrosse, and soccer, and then went on to play cross Division I at Dartmouth College in the US. I am used to running, going to practice, and started actually strength training when I was in college, and then continued that when I left college up until I was pregnant with my first child. And at that point I stopped and just, you have the kids home, you can't really get to the gym and all that. So focused mostly on cardio. Then once my third child had been born, I finally went back into the gym. And even though I had always weight trained, right? And I knew how to weight train, I was familiar with a weight room. It wasn't, a foreign place for me. I went into the group fitness classes like most women do, right? It's fun. You get to sweat, you have the teacher who tells you what to do. And I was also going very religiously to body pump classes, boot camp classes, because I knew I need to take care of my muscle. And then came perimenopause. I actually went through menopause in my mid 40s. And then in my late 40s, I was actually on vacation with my boyfriend. And when I saw the pictures of myself in a bikini from there, I was like, wait a sec, that is not what I look like. I'm working out 5 days a week, sweating it out in body pump classes. Where's my muscle tone? What's going on with my belly? I just didn't even recognize myself anymore, and started really looking into what the heck, and discovered that I was doing the wrong things. That this kind of weight training that you do in body pump classes, where it's a lot of reps. And even though, I was the one who was like picking up the heaviest weights out of all the women there and all that, it just wasn't enough. And when I discovered that, I was like, oh my God, I need to start telling people, women need to know that it's not enough. And these classes are not going to do it for you. And so I started my Instagram and my podcast, and actually then got certified as the menopause fitness coach. That's in a nutshell.
I actually really like this direction because I think that's a really big misconception is people will go to these body pump classes, and I'm going to define that as maybe F45 or maybe Orange Theory, even their strength days.
Yep.
And they're like, well, you know what? We're lifting weight. We have these little barbells. We have these dumbbells. I'm strength training.
Yep.
But hearing from you, new. Are they really?
No, no. And it goes actually into muscle biology. If I can take a teeny, tiny minute for that, because I
Please.
think when you understand this, you kind of understand what's going on. We have different types of muscle fibers in our muscles. There are 4 different kinds, but usually we talk about type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers. And it's the type 1s that do endurance stuff. So they're the ones that, when we walk, when we jog, all those things, those are the ones that are primarily moving our bodies. And the type 2 ones are the ones that give us our strength and our power. Now, type 2s are super lazy, right? They are not going to do anything if they don't have to. It's only when, you have to lift something heavy, your suitcase into an overhead compartment, or lift yourself into a bus, a big step or something, that they come into play. And they're the ones that actually start to disappear when we age, primarily those. And those are the ones that we really need. They're the ones that'll get us up off the sofa and get us off the toilet seat and all those things that we need to be able to do. And they only are activated if we are pushing ourselves to the point where we really need to do an effort. And that's why this lightweight, lots of reps is not really doing the same thing. It's not stimulating type 2 fibers.
I love that. And I'm really glad you did take a second to bring that up, because a lot of times, I think this is true for me. You can let me know if it's true for you, but you and I get so used to this that we just assume a lot of people know some of these things, and then we never actually express it. So thank you for sharing that. But what I find interesting is I recently met a client that lives local to us at Planet Fitness, and I took her through a workout, and she was telling me the entire time leading up to the workout, she's like, Joe, I'm really pushing myself, not really seeing the results that I want. And so I was like, okay, well, you live close enough. Let's meet up on Saturday and get a workout in. And I watched how hard she was pushing herself. And I don't think she was lying. I just think that she didn't understand how hard she could push. So how does somebody determine when they're working hard, how hard to work, and what the right amount of effort is?
Okay, so that's the question in a way, because yes, you want to be pushing yourself hard and going close to something we call failure, or even practicing going to failure, but that's not where you need to start, right? If you're like brand new in the weight room, because this is something I actually teach people how to start weight training. That's what I do. I'm trying to get the women out of those fitness classes and to picking up the dumbbells and getting on the machines. But so in the beginning, if you just want to start with something that feels a little bit difficult and then progress as you go, like apply progressive overload. Maybe you've talked about that in previous episodes. And that means that each time you go in, like let's say you go in today and you're working in a rep range of, let's say, 8 to 12 reps, which means that each time you do a set, you're trying to get somewhere between 8 and 12 reps. If you're doing bicep curls, let's say you have a 2-pound weight. Okay, we're going to do easy numbers. And let's say today you're able to get 8 reps with those 2-pound dumbbells. Well, next time you go in, you want to try to get 9 reps, right? And then once you're up to being able to get 9 reps in all your sets, then you want to try to get 10 reps, and so on until you get to the top of your rep range, which is the 12 reps. And at that point, you start working with a 3-pound weight. And so you work your way up slowly. So that's kind of the journey in the beginning. And that increase will actually happen fairly quickly, especially for people who haven't been training before, because part of it is just your body, your neurological, systems being able to activate those muscle fibers that they're not used to activating, you learning the motions, all these things. And then at some point you get to where, okay, it's not just like going smoothly all the time, increasing. And that's when you get to start like pushing yourself. And there you want to be, so you're now up to 5 pounds with your bicep curls and you're trying to increase your reps. Well, now you may actually need to really push to get that last rep out. And you're really pushing when you have something called involuntary slowdown happening. In other words, your first reps may be like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then all of a sudden you're like 1, 2, it just like, because you just can't do it as fast anymore. And that's when you know that you're pushing your muscles for real. Yeah, I've done some reels on this so that people can actually see it. And when they see it, they're like, oh, okay, now I get it. That's how hard I need to be pushing.
Yeah, I love that. And that was beautifully explained, because somebody that's brand new in the gym or brand new to working out at home, you don't need to push yourself. You need to just get used to these movements, get used to your body using those muscles. And in the beginning, like you said, you're gonna fly up. You're gonna get past those 2 pounds. You're gonna get past the 5 pounds, up to the 10s, and eventually you are gonna hit that difficulty. But there's so many different angles we can talk about exercise and even strength training, is there an amount where it's too much? Like should somebody be working out 5, 6, 7 days a week and just doing as much as they possibly can? Or what are your views on that?
Well, okay. So if I think about the women that I'm generally talking to, they're women who are in their 40s and 50s. And that's a time of life when you are just crazy busy and trying. And also, a lot of them are really loving their aerobics classes or spinning classes and all the things that they're doing anyway. And so they're not ready to like give all that up and just spend all their time in the gym. The most important thing is to do something. Even one day a week is going to be so much more than doing 0 days a week. But if you can do 2 days a week, that would be a great place to start. And when you're doing the 2 days a week, you will be doing full body training because you want to hit each of your muscle groups twice a week to get, really going. I have one woman who is in my group program right now. So we've been training for 8 weeks. And I was just talking to her yesterday and she was like, yeah, it's so great because I have this huge dog crate in the corner of my living room. And this guy was like, hey, do you need me to help you move it? And she was like, no, actually, I don't,
That's the best.
And she like moved it across and she said, oh, and yeah, and I was babysitting this big dog and I picked up the dog, I mean, so it actually comes quite quickly, the improvements. And she's training twice a week. That's it at the gym. So you really can do a lot. Yeah.
You can do a lot with a little bit is what I'm hearing.
Yes,
I love
yes,
it.
absolutely. The most important thing is to get started. And it's, I guess, the thing that is really good to know if you're a woman, going in, well, a woman at any age, actually, because I already talk about this to my daughter who's 18. I'm like, keep strength training. It's really important because the strength training, as I referred or talked about earlier, that it is making up for some of the problems that happen when your estrogen walks out the door. Your estrogen is actually, it is really taking care of your body. It's not only helping your body maintain the muscle that you have, it's helping you to build more muscle. It's taking care of your tendons and your ligaments and keeping them nice and, flexible or, that they don't break. And then also your bones, keeping them strong. And when estrogen goes, then all those things start to decline faster and tendons and ligaments get more like it's easier to injure them and your joints start to not work so well. Your muscles, their ability to actually contract strongly decreases. It really, unfortunately, is this kind of, you start to decay faster. I don't know how else to really describe it, but when you start strength training, you actually reverse those things because when you're lifting heavy, you're forcing your muscles to do those strong contractions. So you're maintaining that. And when, your muscles are attached to your bones using, ligaments, and when you're moving, when your muscle is activated to move your bones relative to each other, then it's putting stress on all of those things and causing them to get stronger. Your bones, your tendons, your ligaments, your muscles. So it's like the whole system is doing better because of the strength training. So it's not just about like looking more toned and getting stronger. It's like your whole body is just more functional because of it.
It's the entire functionality and quality of life you have as you age that is strength training. Like that's the benefits. I truly look at it as the fountain of youth for sure.
Yes.
One thing I see people or women specifically having trouble with is, like you said before, they really like their Orange Theory, their spin class, their aerobics, whatever it may be, but they don't really love strength training. Is that something that you've seen? And if so, how do you get them past that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that is like the biggest problem is, I mean, women would rather do anything than go into the weight room or pick up a weight. I mean, anything. They buy all kinds of things, try all kinds of things. And really all you need is like a really basic weight training program and a pair of dumbbells. So what I would, the way that I think is maybe the easiest way to get started is to really start at home because you don't need to be in front of anybody. You can figure it out on your, in the privacy of your own home, in front of a mirror, like get comfortable doing the movements and then move to the gym. This is something that a lot of my clients do is they'll get the learn to lift at home version and they practice at home. And then they're like, okay, well, if I can do my dumbbell curls and, these kinds of things at home, I just go do them at the gym. And then they already are like comfortable doing the movements. And then they're like, okay, now I can, go to a machine. And one of my clients in the group program, she just said that she was one of the brave ones who was able to go into the weight room, but she'd never gone to the side with the free weights, right? Because like that's the guy's side. And then when she got the program where there were some things that were being done over there, then, she went over there and she was like, I don't know why I couldn't do this before, but like, I just couldn't. And hey, why, it's fine to be over here. So yeah, start small. And I have to say that I myself started by doing it at home, because at that point I was feeling so crap about my body that even though I had a history of being in the weight room, I mean, you would imagine that, oh yeah, I just run right back in there. But no, I started at home, trained at home for almost a year before going back into the weight room. So
yeah,
yeah.
that's a big block we see is, okay, maybe you're comfortable to work out at home. Now you're comfortable to go to the gym, but you only want to use those machines. And the second we're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to challenge you to, instead of using your leg press for your quads and your glutes and your hams, let's do a squat with free weight. And that creates a big block. I'm interested to hear from you, because you said as an athlete growing up, you were in the weight room, you were strength training, you had your kids, life got busy, as we know happens, and you did the best you could. You started prioritizing cardio, but you were still exercising. How did you see your body change in these seasons of life of, I'm strength training, okay, I'm doing cardio, now I'm in the body pump, now I'm back to strength training? Did you see fluctuations in how you looked, how you felt, your food freedoms, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like when I was in college playing lacrosse, I mean, I was training so much that I could eat whatever. I remember there was one winter where every day after practice, I'd go pick up a pint of Ben& Jerry's and eat it. And I mean, I never had to worry about freshman 15 or anything like that, because I was just burning so many calories. But then, of course, when you graduate, you need to like get to normal eating. And I actually didn't have a problem staying looking toned in the body pump classes for a long time. And it was only in, after menopause happened that I think it just started slowly, disappearing, the muscle. And then all of a sudden I noticed it, right? That I was like, whoa. And I remember also, because I have always liked like my shoulder, my arm muscles. And, when you're brushing your teeth at night in front of the mirror and you can see, your muscles, you might identify with this. And then one day I was there and I just caught a glance of myself in the mirror, like you sometimes see yourself as if you don't notice it's you. You get this very objective look at yourself. And I was like, oh my God, where'd all that go? So it was really at about age 48 that I had this happen to me. And it took about a year of the strength training to get to a point where I've started to feel like, yes, I'm starting to look like I work out again, because I was like not looking like I work out again. And actually I have to say one thing that was really interesting was, because I had been taking these body composition in-body measurements. We don't have DEXA scans here, unfortunately, and I know these are not perfect or whatever, but when I first started weight training, I didn't try to lose weight. I just stayed in maintenance. I was like, now I'm just going to learn this thing, right? I'm going to just do one thing at a time, not overwhelm myself. And what happened was my visceral fat dropped amazingly. So my weight stayed the same, but I was gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time. And that's something that isn't uncommon at all, when you first start weight training, that you don't need to, necessarily diet at the same time to lose the fat. You'll have the body composition happening.
Yeah, and that's what
Body
we see.
recomposition happening. Sorry.
No, exactly. And we see that a lot is there's so much value given to the scale. But if you're only using a simple home scale as your tool for, am I progressing or not, that can create a lot of problems, because I'm assuming your scale didn't change at all or really didn't change much. However, you're losing the visceral fat, so the fat in your midsection and around your organs, and you're gaining muscle. And by changing those two things, I bet your body changed in massive ways. But you know what's tough
Absolutely.
also? Oh, go ahead if you have something to say.
No, I was going to say like the side view. You look at yourself from the side and you're like, okay, now I'm looking more. Yeah. So that was the biggest change.
It's great. And you start to
That's
catch a
why
reflection.
yeah. And I mean, just to that point, that the scale is not, it's one data point, but what I really try to encourage encourage is taking progress pictures. And man, I wish I'd taken more of them in the beginning when I was still feeling crap about how I looked. I have so few of them, but like once a month, set up your phone in the same place, same room with the same lighting, same time of day. Morning is easiest because then you don't have to worry about like you ate and feel bloated and whatever. And just, well, I do it so that I actually take a video of myself and I go and I stand in the poses, like a relaxed pose and a flexed pose, and then I turn and relax pose and flex pose, and then I take screenshot from the video.
Yes.
And I do that once a month, and that tells you a lot more than the scale will tell you.
God, I love that you just said that, because so many women that we work with, they're like, you know what? Number one, I feel like crap right now. The last thing I want to do is take a picture of me feeling like crap. And then the second last thing I want to do is have my husband do it or my partner do it. And so that video tool that you just said is everything. You take the video, you stand in the front, you stand to the side, you turn around backwards, and then you screenshot it. I also like the mornings too. And the best thing that I say is, if you're weighing in once a week, choose one of those weeks every month that either right before you weigh in or right after you weigh in, take that video and do it in the bathroom, because then you have consistent lighting. There's often no windows in a bathroom. You have artificial lighting. You're doing it at the same time of the day, and that's when it's going to be consistent. I love that. But you know what?
Yeah,
Even though
and
you're a
I
strength,
love that. I hadn't thought of like doing it in the bathroom. That's a really good one. I'm going to use that because my bedroom's in the basement and I have blackout curtains. So I always take them in my bedroom. So I know the lighting's always the same, but I know that probably not very many people have that ideal situation. So the bathroom, I hadn't thought of that. That's perfect. Yeah.
it's my favorite way. It's a good habit stacking tool also, because they're already doing one thing, so you might as well add something else. I love it. My other question for you
Yes.
is, where does nutrition come into play? Because we've talked a lot about how you changed your body, its shape, how you feel with strength training, but throughout this whole time, were you not even looking at what happens in the kitchen, or is that just something that we haven't yet talked about?
Yeah, so I guess that's something we haven't yet talked about. But like I said, I'm somebody who kind of wants to tackle one thing at a time. And so I was really focused on the building muscle. So the first thing that I adjusted was eating more protein. So, and that I recommend the 1 gram per pound of body weight, or ideal body weight if you're significantly overweight. And though I know that that's very high, a couple things. One is that women, as we get older, we actually are worse at utilizing the protein that we eat. So that's why the recommendations actually go up as we age. And yes, it is a lot of protein. So for me, my goal is 140 grams a day. And I eat 4 meals a day and make sure that I'm getting in protein at each of those meals, 25 to 30 grams. Plus, then I do a protein shake after my workout, or if I'm not working out that day, then sometime in the day when I feel like it. So, but it has taken really, programming all of my meals around my protein. And, this is something that I also teach my clients, and they say that it actually, makes life a lot easier if, when you're thinking, okay, what am I going to eat for dinner tonight? And you think, okay, is it going to be chicken or fish or, turkey or whatever? And then they add the vegetable and other things to it, but definitely the protein. And after I'd done the year of weight training, I did go into a cut, and I did that like super, super strict cut of, I normally eat about 2,200 calories a day. And so I did a 1,700 calorie cut, which I guess in the US, where women are talking about 1,200 calories a day, that may seem like, what? That's not a cut at all. But it was like 1,700, and I lost like a pound a week during that time. And I have to say, I tracked absolutely everything. I have a scale. I weighed everything. I put everything into a calculator. If I knew I was going to go to a party on Saturday night, I ate less Monday through Friday so that I had the budget, saved up for Saturday night. And I think that was such a valuable exercise, because I learned so much about what I should be choosing so that I get a lot of food volume, what I need to choose to get enough protein. And I've been able to apply that, going forward. So I kind of recommend that everybody go through some phase where they just every last little thing, because then you start to realize like I've changed some habits. I used to eat bread sandwich every morning with cheese on it. Now I eat it with turkey, because like it's kind of the same to me if it's cheese or turkey. And the turkey gives me more protein and less calories. So yeah.
Wow, you just uncovered a whole lot of gold, and I'm going to try my best to go for all of them. But one thing you said, you were eating 2,200 calories a day. Number one, I bet there's some of our listeners that their mind just exploded because they think that they can't eat that much. Number two, you said you went into a cut, so a calorie deficit, so a weight loss phase, and you were still eating 1,700 calories a day. A lot of the women that listen comparison are probably eating 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and they're not losing weight. And so to think that they can lose weight eating 1,700 is bananas. And you also said women in the US generally think about a diet as 1,200 calories. And I know you're in Finland. Is that not the case there? I'm actually curious.
Yeah, there's not so much of a diet culture here, thank goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
most of my clients are actually in the States. Like 95% of them are in the States.
Is that
So
just because you can eat more calories in Finland and not lose weight or not gain weight?
no, there's people are a little bit round here, but there's not the obesity problem here. Yeah. But yeah, I'd be curious to hear what your experience is with, the women who aren't losing weight, because my biggest suspicion
Let's
is,
get into it.
and this is something I've run into to some degree with my clients, is that you're doing the 1,200 during the week, or you think you're doing the 1,200 because you're not actually weighing, and you think like I had whatever amount of whatever, right? Then you are so hungry that you have a cheat day. Like, I don't know, the concept of like the cheat day, in my opinion, is maybe the worst idea, because then you blow everything you did during the week in one sitting. And the other thing that I've noticed is like alcohol. If you want to drink, I mean, I drink, I go out, I party, right? I may be 53, but I still party. And I then plan for that, and I choose lower calorie options. I mean, I like my gin and tonic. There are certain tonics that have half the calories of other tonics, right? Pay a little more for it. But yeah, so I think it's that they're not actually eating the 1,200 a day, at least not every day.
Yeah, you nailed it. And I'll say that I've seen both. I've seen women that do have the understanding of how to track accurately, and they are actually under eating massively, and their body is in such a high stress state that it won't allow weight loss because it can hardly make it through the day functioning. But I've also seen the women that you're referring to right now, where it's like Monday through Thursday, it's 1,000 calories a day. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I call these women the weekend warriors. It's just a absolute buffet until they go to work on Monday. And it's like, yeah, you may have eaten 1,000 calories 4 days, but you also just ate 3,500 for 3. And that is not how math works. So absolutely. A lot of these programs that we have in the US, Octavia, Slim Fast, Weight Watchers, you're not counting calories. They're just sending you food, or you're looking at points. And your body doesn't know what a point is. Your body knows what calories are. So no, they don't have the education or the understanding to actually know the science behind it. And I think that's why you're here. I think that's why I'm here, to give them that. One thing I just heard you say, and it kind of goes with what we're talking about, is when you did your cut, you were at 1,700 calories, but you made a budget in your week so that you could eat more. What does that mean?
Yeah. So instead of just thinking about that every day I eat 1,700 calories, I think about it as how many calories you have for the whole week. And if you were to divide it evenly among all the days, it would be 1,700 a day. But just like if you were making a budget for, how much you're allowed to spend on your lunches or food or whatever, over the course like that, you're allowed, money.
Yeah.
If you are buying less on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then you can maybe go to a nice restaurant on Saturday. So same principle applies. So you just eat a little bit less on the other days if you know that on Saturday you're going to want to have that glass of wine or go out to dinner with your husband or whatever friends. So yeah.
That's a trick I use frequently. And it's sometimes I'll do it for a full week if I'm going to have a fun weekend with my wife, or sometimes I'll do it for the first half of a day if I'm going to dinner with my friends. But you know what's crazy to me? And you just made this analogy so easy for me. People say that tracking their calories or their macros or their food in any way is bad. It's obsessive. It's too much. But they do it with their finances Monday through Sunday, their entire life. Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, I know. It is funny. They are very opposed to that. Like somehow if you look at it, but maybe, I don't know. There are some psychological things probably going on. I think people do have a lot of disordered thinking around eating. And I know some people really don't want to step on the scale. And this is another thing that, I'm the same way that, if the scale went up a little bit, you're like, oh, even though I know it shouldn't, it changes on days and whatever. So what I've started doing is I hop on the scale every single day. And then I see that, yes, it fluctuates like that. I may be up 2 pounds. And it's like, okay, what did I do? Oh yeah, I had more pasta today, than I normally do. So then there's the water weight and all that. So, it makes me more immune to feeling bad about what's showing up on the scale. So yeah, I also, when I was doing my calorie deficit, I weighed myself every single day. And then I looked at my average weight during a week and then looked at how the average weight dropped over time. And that was, much more accurate than, because if you pick any one of of the measurements over the course of the week, they can vary so much. So that just, yeah, made it more accurate.
Yeah, for someone that's not going to be affected mentally by the scale massively, I think if you can handle it, getting on there daily and finding the average across 7 days or just looking at the trend is a really smart way to do it. Before I move on, I need to throw a disclaimer in there for anybody that's going to come after you or me with pitchforks. If you're someone that has that past of emotional eating, disordered eating, massive food noise, I understand that the food scale can be a trigger, right? What I just said 5 minutes ago is for general population. There are always exceptions, so don't get mad. Now,
Yep.
next, before we wrap
Yeah.
this up, Lynn, did you have something to say?
No, I just wanted to say that 100% agree. They're the people that get triggered by having to weigh. And then there's the fact that it is a total pain in the butt to do it. It sucks to do it. I mean, So, but if you are not somebody who is triggered by it, I think you will learn so much by doing it. So I recommend it. Even
well,
if you're
that's a
not
good point.
trying to diet, just to see like what your meals are actually comprised of. And to some degree, if you want to get enough protein, then you will need to do that. You'll need to somehow understand, be able to measure how much protein you're getting.
That's a really good point. That leads me to a good question because I know you said you tracked everything.
Yep.
Are you still tracking to this day everything?
So yeah, so it's interesting. Because I work from home, so I'm eating at home most of the time. I actually do write down what I eat. I don't write it into my calculator unless for some reason I want to know, like, okay, so where is my maintenance at now? But it helps me to stay conscious. Also, it's also so that I make sure that I'm getting enough protein. So I will check those kinds of things. So I'll look at some of the data there. And then I find it helpful to weigh my food because the portion, because I'm like, you might have this huge plate and then you put spaghetti on it and it looks like this tiny little dot of spaghetti, but it's actually a lot on there,
That's where we differ.
But-
And I think that it's cool to see different points of view because I don't track anything. I used to. I think we all have to in order to figure out what are my calories? How much does a real serving of, like you said, pasta or peanut butter look like? And it's great to know. But is it still a pain in the butt for you? Or have you kind of gotten used to it? Have you gotten better at it? What's your view there?
Well, because I don't input it anywhere. So it's more just for me because at the end of the day, I'll be like, have I had enough protein today? Did I remember to have my shake? And then I can like quickly look, oh yeah, I did, or yeah, that's right. I ate that for breakfast. So yeah, it's more just like that. But the thing that I noticed over the past year since I've really started, since I am doing the weight training really consistently. And the other thing, which I haven't brought up at all, and I think this is so important. Maybe if I think about like a few things that for midlife women, like I think are key. One is moving more. Your daily step count is a good way of assessing that. So it's your non-exercise activity. So not the steps that you get from going to your aerobics class. It's just you not sitting still, right? That's how I think of it. Because otherwise, I would sit in this chair 10 hours a day.
Yes.
And I mean, I actually went and invested in a walk pad just so I wouldn't be sitting for 10 hours. So I spend a couple hours a day on my walk pad. It is not exercise. It's like this kind of barely moving because of course I'm working on my computer, I'm writing and whatever, but it's so important. And I think that has been a key reason why I've been able to keep, the weight off without having to be obsessive about calories. So like I said, I don't input it anywhere. I know what I've eaten, but I actually couldn't tell you how many calories I had today, or I don't like do the math in my head at all. And then the other thing that is so key, and it's one of the hardest things I think that menopause, perimenopause throws at you, is it makes sleeping harder. This is one of the very, very key complaints that women have. And it was something I suffered with for so long. I mean, I had my ex-husband he was a snorer. I had him have his deviated septum, fixed. And now that I've been dating, it's like, if I can't sleep well next to a guy, it's like next, So it is so critical because if you're not sleeping, you're not recovering, your stress levels are higher, and your hunger and satiety hormones are completely out of whack. And so these are like boring things, but so critical. So critical.
I mean, none of it needs to be complicated. And I think that if we can make this process boring, that's actually a good thing. Because if it's boring, it's simple. And if it's simple, you're going to do it long term. Lynn, this was an incredible, 45 minutes. I want to thank you for your time. Before we wrap up completely, I want to ask you, number one, where can people work with you, find you, talk to you, spend time with you? And are there any tips or tricks or things that you think every single woman, 40, 50, 60 and older, needs to know?
Yeah. Okay. So you can find me at, well, I've got a website, which is befitafter4040.com. And then I actually have a podcast. So I talk a lot about these topics, which is called 40 plus fitness for women. And I guess my main focus in working with women is to get them weight training. So I have learned to lift self-study courses. So you can, download it and get started right away, home or at gym, or group training programs or one-to-one. And I guess my biggest passion and what I want every woman to walk away from, and men too, I mean, it's important for you too, is the weight training. It is so, so important. We are living longer than ever, and we want to live independently. We do not want to be in the nursing home, right? And the thing that is going to enable us to stay home is that we have enough muscle. Muscle is what is going to make us be able to live independently. And it just makes me think of my ex-husband's grandmother who lived to be 101.
Wow.
And she lived home until she was 99. And then she got so sick that she had to be in the hospital. But she was like this teeny tiny little woman. And we would go visit her. She was like in a one-story house in the middle of a field, right? In the country. And she would always bring out she had a little dumbbell. And she was like, I use this every day. And that's why I'm able to live here by myself. Unbelievable. So yeah.
It is truly the fountain of youth.
It is. It is.
I love it. Lynn, thank you so much. I'm going to have those links that you just mentioned in the show notes for anybody that wants to spend time with you. But again, thank you for spending time with me.
Great. Thank you very much for having me. This was really fun.